Welcome to Business Line's State of the Economy podcast, where you'll find insight, analysis, and the story behind the numbers.
Hi, welcome to the State of Economy podcast. My name is Dalip Singh and I look after defense and internal security for my paper, Hindu Business Line. I am joined today by Mr. Venkat Katkuri, Head of Airbus Defence and Space, Airbus India and South Asia. He has 2 decades of experience in this sector across geographies. Topic of today's discussion is role of foreign OEMs towards self-realization in Indian defense sector. Venkat, what is your view on Aatmanir in defense sector since India has moved from buyer and seller relationship to co-developer and co-producer of weapon systems?
Thank you, Dalip, for this podcast. As far as Airbus, we made Aatmanir Bharat the centerpiece of our strategy in India, and we are furthering our commitment to make in India to meet the needs of its civil as well as military customers. A classic example I would share is on the C295 program, which makes a new dawn in the India's defense industry. The program, as you are aware, is quite unique that harmonizes and harnesses the tremendous competencies of the private sector, the DPSUs, and the MSMEs. India, with its strong information technology, engineering capabilities, and maturing manufacturing expertise, it is poised to become an aviation and defense hub owing to its strong fundamentals. And the recent reforms in the policy framework and initiatives like Make in India and Aatmanir Bharat are certainly boosting aerospace manufacturing as well. However, in certain areas, it would be helpful if government provides the initial impetus for the sector. Let me take the example here of the new space policy, which Government of India has enabled for private sector to take off, particularly the startups. This is exactly where the government could act as an anchor customer and act as a catalyst to trigger the industrial capabilities of large and small companies in the space domain. And having said, again, it's important to appreciate that the private companies are most confident and forthcoming in investment when there is certainty of business and order flow.
So before getting on to C295, Venkat, I would like to know what's the pull factor for a leading global aerospace and defense company like yours to come and invest in India? Is it just the market or more?
If I have to sum up very shortly, I would say the growth and the holistic development across the sectors in India is a key factor. So let me dwell more into that. India's aerospace industry has seen significant growth given the demand both on the defense as well as civil aviation sectors. Of course, the growth in the civil aviation sector is largely driven by the growing middle class and major investments in the aviation infrastructure. And this growth also has the potential to enhance connectivity, improve employment, encourage tourism, and to turn India into an aviation hub. But we do not see just India as a tremendous growth market, but we see India as a strategic resource hub offering the right mix of competencies and competitiveness. And our Airbus India Engineering Center certainly is a classic example of our intention and the way we have leveraged upon this competitiveness as well as competencies to establish. I'm sure you're aware that recently we've awarded the contract to Tata Advanced Systems Ltd to manufacture cargo and bulk cargo doors of A320 Neo family. We are really increasing our sourcing from India. We export components and services worth $700 million every year from more than 45 Indian suppliers. And together with our supply chain, Airbus has been supporting nearly 10,000 jobs in India today. By 2025, we estimate this number will rise to 12,000, including 5,000 Airbus employees. On top of this, from the recently awarded C295 military aircraft program, we believe to increase significant additional resources, both in terms of direct and indirect jobs over the next decade. Today, if you see Airbus commercial aircraft, every helicopter has technologies and parts designed and made in India. And our local industrial footprint is a testament to our commitment to developing the Indian aviation and aerospace ecosystem. In totality, we make in India, we design in India, we innovate in India, and we train in India.
Fair enough. Venkat, what made Airbus to choose TASL, which is in the supply chain, and not HAL, the Navratna PSU, which has experience of manufacturing rotary and fixed wings platforms? Is it because of legacy issues?
Let me recall that it was part of the RFP prerequisite that OEMs, as an OEM, we were obliged to do the due diligence and select an Indian private aerospace industry. And in fact, as I mentioned, it's quite a unique program, the first ever program wherein the Ministry of Defence, Government of India, has challenged an OEM to select and partner an Indian private industry. And after a thorough due diligence, we at Airbus have shortlisted Tata Advanced Systems Ltd to be our partner in this endeavor.
In the Indian ecosystem, is bottoms-up or top-down approach is suited for doing business here? I just wanted to know your perspective because you have spent some fair amount of years here in India.
I think there's no one approach which is right or wrong. We believe it is important to build trust with all the stakeholders involved in the defense procurement process and larger ecosystem. And as Airbus, we are committed in the modernization efforts of the Indian Armed Forces, as highlighted on the government's vision for Aatmanir Bharat. So, simultaneously engagements with the industry partners, both private and public sector, that we are able to also support and further drive the Make in India. As an OEM, we are conscious it is important for us to adapt to the local ecosystem as well as on the policy framework, while ensuring we put our customer needs at the forefront.
Getting on to procurement issues, we know, the government defense procurement is time consuming and still slightly complicated, though there has been some tremendous improvement as well. Can you give us take us through global practices, a sort of comparison and way out between the Indian government defense procurement and systems abroad?
I think across all the regions and the domains, particularly on the defense, in general, the procurement processes are quite rigid, robust, and with a long gestation. Even in India, we have a very robust and thorough procurement processes that focuses on institutionalizing, streamlining, and now the simplifying defense procurement procedures, particularly giving a boost to Make in India initiatives. You look at the classic example again on the C295 program, though it took time, we do appreciate, because of the scale of the project, the level of ambition, and the unique nature of the program, I think the government of India was fair enough to do a thorough due diligence, and which we have adapted and worked and supported the government of India in its ambition too. And again, Airbus is not only invested in India's future, but we are tied our destiny to the country as well. What is equally important is a compressed, time-bound approach can support the ambition and requirements of the armed forces. I think that's something we need to be conscious in our efforts from the government side as well.
Do you think the sort of the defense bureaucracy is much more transparent, accommodative? What is your view?
Indeed, it is thanks to the government of India policies and I think particularly the support. Today, we believe the processes have become more transparent and very effective in terms of engagement across the stakeholders, whether it is with the end customers, the customers, and the stakeholders. I think the process itself has become extremely transparent and very efficient. And that's something we would like to commend on the Government of India initiatives.
I would like to get on to C295 sort of because that's on everybody's mind. Can you, Venkat, share us the timelines, especially the status of production facility at Vadodara to flying first aircraft from Spain here, and about offsets?
Yeah. So again, I would like to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude to Government of India and largely the stakeholders, Ministry of Defence and the Indian Air Force for reposing trust on us. And as mentioned, this being a unique program, this will definitely lead to the larger development of the entire ecosystem. As far as the program itself, out of 56 aircraft, the first 16 aircraft comes from Spain on a flyaway condition, and that will be delivered between 24 and 48 months from the contract signature, which was end of September 2021. And the remaining 40 aircraft to be assembled and delivered from India between 60 and 120 months. So basically over the 10-year period after the contract signature. The first aircraft will come on schedule. The engine run, the paint, the first test flight has been done successfully, and all are absolutely on track. As I mentioned, this program definitely demonstrates the holistic development, particularly on the defense side. And again, as Airbus, we have pioneered the civil aviation supply chain in India, working with a range of private companies and PSUs to procure manufacturing and engineering services from India worth $700 million a year. This we have done without any offset obligations. But now, again, that legwork has certainly helped us to bring investments, and then thanks to the C295 program, this will further create additional direct, indirect jobs, as I mentioned earlier as well, over next decade. And we believe in the long term, as a reliable partnership with Government of India and the armed forces in particular, we believe the program will certainly unlock substantial opportunities for us in defense and related sectors in the years to come. And we are engaging with authorities on offsets, but we do not want to dwell more details. But certainly we are working with the entire ecosystem, whether it is DPSUs, the tier ones, as well as the Indian private industries, including the MSMEs, in our endeavor to discharge offset obligations.
So that was, I think, quite an exhaustive sort of reply. Venkat, India has almost become self-reliant in helicopters category, isn't it? How near or how far is India in acquiring similar feat in aeroplane segment?
India is definitely expanding its development in the entire civil aviation sector, and the supply chain is something that one needs to mature before we look into the exhaustive holistic system integration. And this is exactly what at Airbus we're quite conscious, and we'll be working alongside with the entire supply chain in establishing this ecosystem, particularly before it is being matured to the level of system integration. So that's, if I have to sum up again, the capabilities and capacities is definitely increasing, and Airbus is contributing in its development by engaging with the right stakeholders, both on the private, public, as well as the MSME, in our endeavor to a larger horizon in the future, near future.
Why I was asking this is because with Airbus tie-up with Tassel, do you think it'll give Indian sort of aerospace defense company a technical know-how to assemble and to design and manufacture aircraft?
Indeed, I think it's certainly going to be a catalyst. This program is certainly going to be a catalyst. As I mentioned earlier, developing the ecosystem is something really crucial before we aspire to look at the system integration. And if you look at, in general, the competencies of the ecosystem, this program would enable them to evolve from a build to print to build to specification, and eventually to a design to development. So there is a gestation one need to understand, appreciate, and at Airbus we are indeed engaging with on a bottom-up approach to develop alongside the ecosystem with the right stakeholders and the partners to evolve them and bring them to a maturity stage, to a design to development in future.
There's another issue which I thought I'll draw your mind on. Indian defense sector seems to be looking up, and talking about numbers. The defense minister recently announced that defense production has touched 1 lakh crore. The last year's financial year figures for exports was 16,000 crore. So all that is fine. I think Aatmanir Bharat seems to be paying for the domestic industry. But why Indian companies are not able to punch above weight in global market, especially in Africa and South Asia?
Yeah, let me give a classic example of, and when we talk about defense and space, let me jump into the space arena here. As I mentioned earlier, I think government of India, particularly the policy initiatives, giving an opportunity for an Indian private startups or the Indian industry to take off is something really great. But having said, the industry, unfortunately, are largely relied on the ISRO contracts. And for them to think beyond, for them to look at export, they need to obviously scale up, tie up with a foreign industry, and to mature its technologies which are accepted at a global level. And we believe, as at Airbus, we are putting every effort in exploring partnership with the Indian private industries, equally in space, to explore opportunities, to bring the state-of-the-art technologies to India, mature this with our industrial partners, and then scale it up in terms of production, eventually to take the product not only to meet Indian customer, but also for a future export opportunity as well. So the right policy support is there now, and we need to look with the substantial contracts. So as I mentioned, again, it's important the government of India could act as an anchor customer to really scale up the industrial ecosystem and to mature these state-of-the-art technologies to take it to a global level.
There's a tremendous interest of foreign players in our startups. I think something is being worked out between India and America. That's what we are hearing. Can we expect anything on those lines from Airbus as well?
Yeah, Airbus. At Airbus, we had biz labs, and then we've had significant association with the startups, and we have matured about 11 startups through these initiatives of biz labs, and now it's a Airbus Innovation Center, and we have given contracts to 11 startups, and we are working closely with the ecosystem to see the end product is possibly being integrated within the Airbus holistic portfolio. Now we have a new innovation center in Bangalore. We have just inaugurated in Feb. I think this is something that they are closely working on all the startup initiatives.
Would you like to share more on these 11 startups, if it's okay with you?
Yeah, I think it's still, since it's commercial sensitive, I think I would defer this question maybe to a later stage once we have a mature business that we will be we will be in a position to share.
Venkat, there's one issue. I think I'm sure you have also broached it. It bothers the government. It bothers domestic industry. Why foreign players are reluctant to transfer technology?
I would put differently, because as far as Airbus, we would see positively in a different perspective. We are in fact proud to say we're contributing towards enhancing Airbus, particularly aircraft manufacturing capabilities of the Indian industry. And again, the C295 program is a classic example wherein we are bringing the best of what we are doing at Airbus to India, and then we can say with confidence that the program is definitely going to stimulate the defense manufacturing industry and unlock the potential for cutting edge design, component manufacturing, aircraft assembly, and services capabilities across the value chain. In fact, our engineers are also working towards developing alternative propulsion system for the hydrogen-powered aircraft. And our local industrial footprint itself is a testament to our commitment to developing the Indian aviation and aerospace ecosystem. We are quite open and engaging with the defense as well as both on the public and the private stakeholders, and possibly looking at joint development activities and initiatives on the technologies too.
And Venkat, one last question before we wind up our podcast. What are Airbus future plans of investment in Indian defense capabilities? I know Airbus has partnered with ISRO in the past, but now that there's a Indian defense space policy as well, we are opening up. We want, if you look at the security aspect, we know the next sort of generation of warfare will involve aerospace. So your thoughts?
As I mentioned earlier, Airbus has extensive experience working with the Indian Space Research Organization and its commercial arm, the Antrix, and now with the New Space India Limited. and we taking pride also in sharing that maybe we are the only foreign OEM who has developed such extensive relation and proactive Make in India opportunities or joint development with ISRO and the Antrix. I think it's important to understand and appreciate that way back in 2005, we are the only OEM who have implemented the Make in India with the joint development of communication satellites, wherein we brought in our spacecraft payload from Europe, assembled, integrated, and tested with ISRO's platform, and launched from Kourou for an export market. So that definitely shows Airbus intent. And these, all what we have done is beyond the offset obligations. Now, we are also looking at expanding this collaboration thanks to the policy from the government of India to further our commitment on building the state-of-the-art technologies out of India with our Indian private space ecosystem, to develop the ecosystem again to meet the end customer requirements. But at a group level, we are growing on engineering and digital operations, on whether it is on the innovation, the training, including on the procurement. So all in all, we'll go from right now from 2,000 odd to about 5,000 full-time employees by 2025. So this is something significant as an OEM that we're quite keen to engage with the Indian industry, the ecosystem, and we would like to be part of the holistic development. And this is exactly where I recap saying again, we have invested in India's future, but has tied our destiny to this country.
Right. Thanks, Venkat, for being with us, sharing your mind on initiatives in India.
Thank you.